I want to tell you what I love most about my job. 55 years of cataloging dolls, hundreds of thousands of dolls, hundreds of thousands of costumes. Wouldn't you think I had pretty much seen it all, or at least heard of it all? And then something comes along that I say, what? And I start looking, and these 5 dresses are it. This is just a wonderful exploration for me. This came in from Laurie Baker's collection, and she had them packed in a special box, and she called them the Carrie Hall costumes. And I'm thinking, now what is that all about? So I called her, we talked. She referred to me to the article that she had written in Antique Doll Collector some time ago. Born with a Needle in Her Hand, Dolls of Fashion by Carrie Hall, or Fashion Costumes, 7 Fashion Costumes by Carrie Hall. And then she further referred me to a wonderful article written by Dale Rensing of Massachusetts, which also talked about the wonderful costumes and the back history of Carrie Hall. And I have spent so much time researching this and digging further into it in the past week, and it's been an absolute joy. I was able to go on Amazon, found out that she had written a book in 1938 called From Hoop Skirts to Nudity, and I was able to locate this book, and it just arrived to me yesterday, and I'm excited about that. It's an old library, look, it's an old library copy, taken off the library shelf. But there it is, it's got all the information in it. Well, Carrie Hall was a really interesting person. We're showing here a couple of photographs of her when she was a young woman and then later on in life. She was born in Wisconsin. I've kind of jotted down some facts about her, and I want to go over them with her. Okay, and Carrie Hall was an interesting woman. She was born in 1888 in Wisconsin. Could have been a bit earlier than that. Her father was in the Civil War, and when he came back from the Civil War, he just inspired her with all of these tales about Abraham Lincoln. She was an avid reader at the time, and she collected all of these books, and she read about books, and she read about fashion, and collected many books throughout her life. Well, she also was interested in sewing because her mother had taught her how to sew. Shortly thereafter, this was in 1888 then, this was later on, her father decided he wanted to be a pioneer. Wisconsin was a little too settled for him. So he moved the whole family to Kansas, and in the area of Leavenworth, Kansas, which is where she spent the majority of the rest of her life. And as she grew up to be a young girl and she wanted to, women, I love this. These are stories of like women that we never knew about. And they were living their lives, and they were making a business and trying to survive. And we just need to know more of these. To me, I don't know that they're heroic stories. They're just people living their lives, but we never have heard about them before. And to me, this is so important. Well, Carrie Hall was an extra seamstress, and she had, even at age 10, she had won a contest, and she won a year's subscription to Godey's Ladies Fashion. And she was so thrilled with that. She studied fashion all her life. So by the time she's now in Leavenworth, and she wants to try to find some way to earn money, her first husband had died. She puts her seamstress work to use. And she tied in with a local department store there, and up on the 3rd floor of the department store, she set up her seamstress studio. And all of the elegant women in Leavenworth, Kansas, which was a very bustling town, a very prosperous town, came to her to acquire and have her make all of the latest fashions of the time. As we're doing this, while I'm talking, I'm going to just keep turning the costumes around, and so you can keep watching them while I blather on here, okay? And this is a pink brocade, by the way, with some very, very beautiful draping on it. And people would come into the town, and she would work with them on what to make, and then she would make the custom costumes to fit them. Well, her business was absolutely thrived. People came from all over to have a Carrie Hall ensemble. And then this lasted until like 1915, 1920. And what happened then? Life is always changing, society's changing, and ready-made clothing became in full vogue. And people could have access to it, even in little places like Leavenworth, Kansas. So a business became harder and harder to maintain. So she kind of ended up her seamstress business. Look at this wonderful dress. I'll interrupt myself. Look at the material it's made out of. This brocade burgundy and wonderful draped silk, wonderful back bustle. It's just absolutely grand, authentic in the making to the complete styles of the time. She gave up dressmaking and she turned to quilt making, and she became one of the most famous quilt makers in America. She published a wonderful book on patchwork quilts. She collected, I think, something like 600 different patchwork patterns, patches of different patterns. Very, very famous. At a given point, however, in mid-1930s, she had moved to North Platte, Nebraska, where she opened a shop called the Handicraft Shop. And at that point, she decided to write a book about her fashions, what she knew about fashions. But in order to do that, she wanted to make models of the costumes themselves. And that is when she created these costumes. In the mid-1930s, she created miniature models of the gowns that she had made for ladies of fashion back in the 1880s and 1890s. And they're absolutely exquisite. She then had them all either photographed or illustrated, and they appear over and over in this book, along with the descriptions of what different eras represented. And I'm going to tell you, Carrie Hall, she spoke her mind. She had so much commentary. If you can ever get your hands on this book, if you love fashion, you need to read this book. She had a whole lot to say about the clothes we wear, why we wear them, frankly, how we're suckers sometimes for the clothes we wear, and that we get talked into wearing things that we have no business wearing because they don't fit either our lifestyle or our body style. Very, very informative. And she wrote that wonderful book called From Hoop Skirts to Nudity. And it's wonderful. And these were the models of clothing that she made. Well, this would be about 15 years ago now, a selection of these clothing, some of them with original tags on them. The one in pink has the original tag on the back that says the Handicraft Shop of North Platte, Nebraska, where she eventually moved and where she was when she created these, came up for auction and were bought by people, those few people who know about Carrie Hall. And whenever they can find them, they absolutely cherish them. So I am absolutely thrilled to have these to sell because I just think they're wonderful. There's some question see, it appears like maybe the dolls that she seemed to know Emma Clear, and she had asked Emma Clear to make a mannequin because a few of them had appeared on a mannequin that appeared as though it was made by Mira. This one's one of my favorites. I love this. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? Look at the fabric itself. Look at the tassels on the front, the pagoda sleeves. Wonderful styling. And we show these all. Carrie Hall also, and I have never seen one, and I'm waiting for somebody out there to send me a photograph or say, Florence, you've seen 100 of these, you just never knew what it was, and that is entirely possible too. She also started making dolls. She made dolls of historical women, and some of them were, she made dolls of the Louise May Alcott Little Women. She made Susan B. Anthony. She made other historical ones. They say that at the Wesleyan Museum in Nebraska, there is a collection of 16 biblical figured cloth dolls she made. They were all cloth dolls and all in elaborate costumes. So anyone who knows anything about a Carrie Hall doll, I'm supposed to be up here giving you seminars and talking to you about what I know, but I need your help because I sure would love to see it. I'm very taken with the history of this woman. I think she lived a valiant life and kept changing her style of what she was doing, and she kept out there and she wrote books and she did these costumes, and good for her, and that's what we all need to be doing.